you know, it doesn't take a lot for a kid to, like, when you really open your eyes and you look at a situation, you could tell if someone is trying to get their kids back or if someone's not trying to get their kids back.
I'm a former Detroit police officer and rode with the One Percenter Motorcycle Club. During that time, I was involved in a lot of altercations. I had a gun shoved in my face. The trigger was pulled, and I got a plate under my left eye. I'm Manny Vitale, and this is my story. Hey, how you doing? I'm Manny Vitale from My Fight Our War. We're back here in Connecticut with our second home, and of course that means with Coach and Mimi and the incredible family, and with the Brian Cody Brothers and Sisters Foundation. And today we are very blessed to have one of the family members with us, Bo, who's going to share his story, which is very personal and needs to be told as only a family can tell it. So, Bo, thank you for coming on. Why don't you tell everyone your name, who you are, where you're from?
My name is Strongbow Lone Eagle. I'm from New Milford, Connecticut.
Yeah, and with Coach Morrissey.
Yes, sir.
We were just sitting out there because everyone knows Coach and Mimi, and we were talking about the extended family.
Yes. Yep.
I knew the rundown of some of the brothers and sisters. Yep. I didn't know the extended version when you said, well, how many? When OG said that.
Yep.
And Bo is literally, well, if you put us all together, well, would you say 15?
There's probably 15 of us.
Oh, yeah. My God. So how from the beginning to with Coach and Mimi, how did this all happen?
So it started in 2014. So I used to live in Syracuse, New York with my father and my mom and then my other 4 siblings. We moved down to Connecticut. We lived in Sherman. I came down in the middle of 4th grade. Then my aunt and uncle got married. And then in October, 2 months after they got married, we were taken from DCF and placed with them in foster care. They took in all 5 of us the same day. No, like, we can't only take 2. We can't only take 3. They took in all 5, no hesitation. So it was like a very like chaotic move from, what was going on from Syracuse to being taken away from DCF to being placed with them too.
I mean, it was literally just all of a sudden. Yeah. They walked in. They were like, "Hey, Bo, this is happening now." Did they tell you immediately, all 5, or did
so you? So it was kind of like they didn't take all 5 of us. Like DCF had I was with my grandma. My other 3 brothers were with my dad, mm-hmm. and then my older brother wasn't at the house, so they had to kind of track us down to tell us that like we had to go move in with my uncle. So it was kind of like, it was 2 months after they got married too. So they got married in August, and I was with them on October 13th.
No kidding.
So it wasn't even 2 months. It was a month after they got married. They got 5 more kids when they already had their kids living with them.
Before you 5, like you said, they had theirs. How many were there before you 5?
So my uncle has 2 kids, and my aunt has 3.
So there was 5 there
already.
Wow. And just married. 5 combined on a mixed marriage, and now 5 more. Man, I tell you, sometimes in this crazy life that we live in now, you hear all the bad stuff. And believe there's a shit ton out there. We need, unfortunately, part of it's why we're here. Yep. But man, you talk about the good in people. Yeah. Coach, Mimi, all of your siblings are just amazing. Excuse me. I mean, for you at that age, how old were you then when?
I was in 4th grade.
4th grade?
Yes.
What was going on that it came to everyone being disbanded?
So, like I said, I was born in Danbury, and then at like 3 to 4 years old, we ended up moving to Syracuse, New York. So my father, I don't talk to him. But he wasn't the greatest figure. I guess you can say he was kind of a drug kingpin in Syracuse. So, I've met some really, people that don't really care about life. They'll do whatever it takes to stay in their, like, whatever game they're in. I remember people shooting our house up. I have to run to the neighbor's house because bullets are flying through. When I was 8 years old, I found my Aunt Lisa dead with a needle in her arm. Her body was blue. I can describe everything. The more we start talking, I remember everything visibly. I remember a lot.
I'm sorry, but the first thing you said about the shooting, how old were you?
I was probably like 7 years old.
And you're in your home with the rest of the family, and all of a sudden bullets just start ripping through the house. What's going on? I mean, obviously everyone's screaming, yelling. Was Dad home?
So everyone was home. So it came down to drugs and people owing people money. The block that we lived on was like scary. You can't walk down the block all the way because another group controlled that side. So there was territories. I remember watching our corner store get burned down. So it was like there's a lot to it.
Like a turf war thing because of that.
Yep.
So bullets ripping through. I mean, was that the first thing of violence that you saw? I mean,
so I remember people would stand on the other side of the roads. They would wear their bulletproof vest and then shoot at each other for fun because they were bored. They had nothing better to do. And that was your tender growing years from 4 years old up to, and I'm sorry, the unfortunate vision, and just like everybody, if there's a subject you don't want to go to, man, don't. I mean, this is yours. I host this thing. You're the star of this thing. Just say, man, I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, no, we're good.
But with your aunt, what happened there that you found?
So in Syracuse, we knew it was starting to get bad when my mom and sister got jumped by 30 people. So it was and then they bashed in our car window. They bashed in a rock into our living room window. So in our living room window, we had this big giant piece of glass that faced the road. And what happened was I actually ended up falling asleep in the living room, and I woke up with a rock probably like this big right next to my head. They smashed in the window, smashed in the car. They popped all the tires. And then that's when we knew we had to leave because it was starting to get not safe.
And this was all retaliation because of drugs and owing money and all that.
Yeah.
And you said you found your aunt passed away with a needle in her arm.
Yeah.
Was this in your home?
No, this was we had an aunt that lived next to us, and both of my aunts lived there. One was Aunt Fran, one was Aunt Lisa. She was only probably 43 years old when she passed away. I was only 7, 8 years old, but...
How you just walked over there?
Yeah, they told me to go wake her up.
Oh.
They asked me to go wake her up. I went in the room, and she was blue, and she had a needle sticking on her arm, and I went out, and I said, she's dead. And then they just started freaking out because they didn't realize.
And you were 8 years old. So, and I mean, the way you just described that, you walked in, saw her, blue with a needle in her arm, and then you walked back home. Yeah, she's dead. I mean, was it literally like that type of dialogue?
It was just like, guys, she's
so
gone.
It wasn't scream. Oh my God, screaming panic.
Not me.
Because you were so.
They
that was. I mean, you at that age, man. I mean, I hate to say normal life because there is no normal life, but to someone who lives in a getting shot up house, and because of what you just described. For a 7-year-old, 8-year-old to walk in to wake up their family member to find them blue with a needle at any age, but at that young age, you think would be just total hysteria and screaming. But you're at that age, unfortunately, jaded, man, cold to you. It's just she OD'd, she's dead. I mean, man, that's something.
Yeah, so what it was is my house was right here in the middle, and then and we shared the same backyard. So we could literally just walk through the backyard without even having to walk through the front. So everyone was in their house. So they were in the kitchen of that house. And then when I went in the room, came back out, they were like, what's wrong? And I said, she's dead. She's blue. And then they ran in, started going crazy. And I was like... you don't really recognize it when you're young. You're just like, she's cold and she's blue. You know what I mean? And then when you go and tell an adult, they start freaking out. And then you realize, oh shit, she's dead.
Well, yeah. I mean, understanding but still, man, at that young age to see something like that, I mean, that's insane, man. I'm sorry that anyone has to see that, but for you at such a young age, I mean, what is that when you were taken away?
No, so we ended up moving back to Connecticut.
Oh, that's right.
That was probably in like 2007 that my Aunt Lisa passed away. So then, we dealt with everything for a couple years more. And then, I watched my brother hit my dad in the head with a baseball bat. Like my dad, I don't know how he's still alive, but he is. He should have died on the operating table. Realistically,
a fight between your brother and dad, was it just argument, or was he trying to?
So what happened was we were living on I think it was Delaware Street, and my older brother started cursing to my mom. My dad said, "Stop talking to her like that," and he slapped him twice. My brother went inside, grabbed a bat, came outside, hit him upside the head. He ran away. My dad was in the bathroom. We thought he had to use the bathroom, and then we started banging on the door. He wasn't responding. He was passed out on the toilet, holding his head like this. And then he passed out. We ended up dragging him out of the bathroom and placing him on the floor. The ambulance just had now arrived as we're pulling him out of the bathroom. They loaded him up, and you could say he looked dead because the way, when they say a person passes away, how you relieve yourself, it was messy, very messy. So it was like, spice and stuff like that. That was what my older brother was on, and that's what made him kind of.
Yeah, what kind of went off.
Yeah.
Man, so I mean, there was basically, you grew up. You opened your eyes as a baby seeing this.
Yeah.
That's like from day one, crawling around, drugs, needles.
Yeah.
Good God, man. This, I didn't get a whole lot of backstory because I really didn't want to, because I that's your story and all that stuff. So that happens. And it's just nonstop violence and chaos, and you're not even 12 years old yet. Yep. So from there, how old were you when you guys were taken away then?
So I was in fourth grade. I was probably 11 or 12.
Now, how did that go down? Was there any? Did my dad tell you?
So there was no mentioning. I will say it was probably hidden from us kids and my father that DCF was investigating, because we never really got anything. Like, they showed up to the houses a couple times, but they move in silent. They have to, you know what I mean? So, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom.
So they literally just show up?
They show up. They tell you, get a bag of clothes, whatever you can. We'll come back for the rest of your stuff. And like I said, I was with my grandma, so I didn't even have anything in mine.
They came right to your grandma's house.
Yeah, well, because they called my grandma.
To let them know they were coming?
So they went to my dad's house. Mm-hmm. And then they ended up calling my grandma to tell her to drop me off at my uncle's house, because I normally slept at her house on the weekends. Mm-hmm. They told her to drop me off at my uncle's house. So me and her met up at my uncle's house with all the rest of my siblings.
Oh, so that's where it all took place?
Yeah.
And you had no idea, you just thought you were going to your uncle's?
Yeah. Right? And she's like, "Oh, we just got to go to Uncle Tony's." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Let's go to Uncle Tony's." We call him Uncle Awesome. So it's like, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, let's go to Uncle Tony. He's got the pool table and stuff like that. His house was always so much fun. So it was like, yeah, bet we're going to Uncle Tony's. Never really asked why. It was 7:30 at night, but.
So when you got there, how did they break it to you?
They were like, "You're going to live here now." And it was just like, at first you're kind of just like, "What do you mean? Like, I'm going to just start living here with you?" And like, I was just living at my dad's house just last night. You know what I mean? So it's a whole, it was a whole change of scenery. It was a whole change of structure.
Atmosphere.
Everything involved in it. You know what I mean? It's not just, we used to decide if we were going to go to school or not. School was a decision.
Between you. Like you and your siblings.
If I wanted to go to school, I'll go to school. But if I don't want to go to school, I don't got to go to school, and I won't face any repercussions from that. With my uncle, it's like you're going to damn school, no matter whether you don't want to or not. You know what I mean? So like, there was times during the third grade year that I was coming here for 2 weeks, going back to New York for 2 weeks, and then coming back here for 2 weeks. So it was like I was only in school for 2 weeks out of the whole month. So think about all that time I lost. That's a lot of time. So it was like, okay, whatever. And then, you know, obviously I moved in with my uncle, and it's like, oh, you're going to school. Why not?
Man, you talk about an eye-opening experience to go from bullets flying, finding relatives dead, to waking up with boulders next to your head, to pulling all this, to all of a sudden, the law's being laid down, man. It's structure time.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
At the same time, I mean, you were all together.
Yep.
I mean, so did they sit down and discuss with you guys that this is not a temporary thing, man? Or?
Yeah. So eventually they were like, this is probably going to be a longevity situation, and obviously from the way my dad was acting, I knew that. It doesn't take a lot for a kid to like when you really open your eyes and you look at a situation, you could tell if someone is trying to get their kids back, or if someone's not trying to get their kids back. And I knew from, because we used to have a worker, Rochelle, who came, like every time my dad came to my uncle's house for a visit, she would be there. They would spend an hour going through parenting classes, and then he would spend time with us, but after, 3 years, how come you don't got your kids back? You said you love your kids, but you're not bettering your life for your kids. So it's like, you learn that here's a guy who doesn't have to take me in, who just got married, who already got a house full. They don't got to take us in. They could have said no. So it's like, I'm going to be with this guy who's got a house full, who's ready to actually take care of more kids. You know what I mean? And it's like, whatever, it's like, it's heartbreaking, yes, but you know what? I probably would have been dead before I was 16. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because at this time, your dad, I mean, like you made a comment, how come you're not bettering your life? So at that age, when this is going on, what you just described, how
I was
old are you
probably 12, 13.
So 12, 13, you're looking at your dad and knowing that he's still doing the same thing?
Yeah.
Man, and again, man, for the young age, seeing all this, childhood, you went from being born to having to be an adult. How are you as far as the age? Youngest, oldest?
I'm the youngest. I'm the baby.
You're the baby.
I'm the baby.
All this going on with your brothers, everyone's there. Man, I tell you, that's just incredible. So now with the merger of the other 5, how did that come together? Maybe kids are kids, man. They can be little assholes. And now you got 5. First of all, 5, 3, and 2.
Yep.
Now become 1. Yep. I mean, we all know the Brady Bunch shit. I mean, things don't always go, great.
It's everyone, long line for the bathroom. Was
there any animosity at all? I mean, any kind of like this is
so we grew up fighting each other a lot. I'm talking about you can hear our knuckles colliding.
Are you talking before moving in?
Both. I'm talking about both. Even when we moved in with my uncle, me and my brothers would start arguing and fighting and literally throwing hands. And it gets bad because then you got Maddie, who's probably only 8 years old at the time, seeing this. And then so there was so many other things that was going on at the same time. But I think there was a lot of just probably not towards each other, but about the whole situation. Because my other brother Seminole, he has a lot of issues mentally and stuff like that. So the way he was seeing things wasn't working with the way I was seeing things. So it was like he didn't understand what was really going on. Meanwhile, I'm over here, I see clear as day what the hell is going on. So it was like, Seminole, just so you know, what you're saying is not true because X, Y, and Z, and then he would get mad, for example.
And that's what would flare it up?
Yeah.
And, so here, like you just said, here's little Maddie seeing this violence that she's not used to. But you guys, this was every day. I mean, this happened. It's 8 a.m. Let's go. I mean, and the thing is, I mean, here an argument. You're yelling stuff for you guys. No, man, you're not this little. I mean,
no,
like
I'm
just said,
saying, like you can hear the clapping just like that. Imagine hearing that, but 10 times harder.
And that's someone's face.
Sometimes our hands collided.
Just going at it. Is this like? Were all of you? I mean, sometimes was it just like maybe you and your brother?
Probably me, like, me and my brothers mainly. My sister Shawnee, she would go crazy sometimes, but she wouldn't like try to hit us or like we wouldn't hit her. But I will say, like my mom one time got my next door neighbor to come over to beat my sister up. So it was like I've seen that happen, and like. So there was a lot of things that,
You're before you moved in, obviously.
Yeah.
Your mom went next door to get a lady or get
a lady
to come over and beat up your sister.
Yeah. Yep.
Insane, man. So I mean, here, when you see the look on Maddie's face, like for you, I mean, man, I tell you what, talking to you. I mean, you grew up so fast, and thank God, because, I mean, just the short time talking to you, man, you talk about seeing clearly and having your head on straight. God bless you, man, for what you've gone through, where you're at, because you are the blueprint of the positive things that can come out of such a negative situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did your brother, I know you said that he saw things differently. How did you feel when you saw Maddie with this look on her face, seeing you guys going at it? I mean,
so, like, it was hard because, obviously, like, she didn't understand as well because, she didn't, like, understand why all 5 of us were moving in and now, like, we're all sharing a house and we're there every day, And so, it was just, like, all the, like I said, the stress from it and just trying to understand where we're going from here. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot. You know what I mean? And then especially when you're trying to make it work and there's just a lot of different people saying different things. And then you're just like, why the hell are we wasting our time doing this? If it's like, it's not going nowheres. You know what I mean? Why are we still trying to fix something when that something can't be fixed?
Man, and that just goes to show you, man, when you don't give up and there's love and respect, and that's, sometimes love comes with a punch in the face.
Sometimes.
And I'm sure, I mean, and that's true. That doesn't, just because you hit someone doesn't mean you don't like them, man. And I'm not saying go hit people. I'm not, saying things like that at all.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to especially siblings, I mean, if you don't hit your brother, there's something wrong. But, so growing up, like, and your hoodie, Brian Cody Brothers and Sisters Foundation.
Yes,
we already know what you grew up and seeing and all that.
Yeah.
First time, you and Brian, what was that relationship?
Instant. You know what I mean? He was just another older brother. You know what I mean? Took me on.
How much older was he to you?
So Brian, he was 20 when he died. I was a sophomore in high school. So I was 16, 17, 18.
Okay.
So he's about 4 years older than me.
So your older brother.
Yep. And, like him and Stormy, we're always together. You know what I mean? Even before we ended up moving with my aunt and uncle, unfortunately, me and my older brother, Stormy, we would take my dad's car in the middle of the night. And I was probably only, like I said, like 13 years old. We would go pick Brian up. We would go hang out with all of our, all of our other friends. Uh-huh. And then, drop Brian back off, drop everybody back off, and then go back to our house. So it was like we were always with Brian. I mean, like, Brian can light up a room. It's like everybody loved him. No matter where he went, it's like he never wanted a problem with anybody. As long as you showed him respect, he gave it to you. The minute you did something he didn't like, he'd let you know. You know what I mean? And he was a hard worker. That's where he had 3 jobs at one point. I had 3 jobs at one point. So it was like he was trying to better his life even with the people around him. and then like, that one night just shit hit the fan and that's it. You know what I mean?
It's like with, him being the older brother and all that stuff, man, here he is dealing with the merging of the family.
Yep.
But I mean, obviously there's that relationship with you guys anyways.
Yeah.
Coming in, obviously you guys were tight. Did you ever, sense that there was any issues at all with anything?
No. I can probably say he didn't start doing that stuff until he was probably 19. Because when we were younger, like when he was 16, 17, it was just strictly marijuana. You know what I mean? And then, it's just about the people who you are around. I actually just seen a person working at a tree service, and I was like, that's funny, he's out of prison, even though he's probably murdered a lot of people. Because he was a drug dealer, and you know what I mean? And it's like he got all these people hooked on the shit. And now look at him, he's free as a bird, he's good. But meanwhile, there's families that are suffering still from the loss of their loved one. So it's like it's sad.
It is. And I never had the honor of meeting him. But for what you just said, lighting up the room, just all this stuff is what I've been told as well.
Yep.
And just the blind side, talking when Coach was on, when I first met him and we were talking about it, how, just like you said, no idea. It was like, I think you said it was Christmas when you got that knock on the door, or Christmas Eve or something like that.
I actually, it was crazy. I woke up Christmas Day. I looked on my phone. It was a photo of Brian in the hospital. My uncle said, we'll be home in a little bit. Just make some breakfast for everybody. We'll be home. So it was like, it was.
Wait, you were sleeping, Chris, and your phone goes off, and
I look, and then my uncle texts me a photo, and he just says, we'll be home soon. Just know he's okay.
Wow.
And then that was the first time.
So when Coach got home, when they came home from the hospital, what did they, obviously the sit down, what did they say to you?
They just said he did something, and then that he had to go be hospitalized for it, but he's okay. And then that they were just going to try to figure it out.
Oh, so they didn't really get into what what it was, the drugs or anything.
Behind it, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you had no idea.
Yeah.
He was just in the hospital.
Yep.
Because talking to Coach when that came up, the blank stare, because he was just like, no. I mean, it literally, when you say you're blindsided by something, that was it. Because they were not expecting that phone call, however they were notified. And here it happens. And, talking with him about how do you go forward with this? And that's why I'm here, doing this, from my experience. That's why you're here. So that's the first, the time that you're, exposed to, well, you've been exposed to this your whole life.
Yeah, but
with someone in
immediate family.
Immediate family that's not part of that craziness as far, excuse me. So when he comes home, do you guys sit and talk?
So, we talked about it, and he never was the one to really talk about what he had going on. He kind of always kept himself. He'll tell you what his plan is for the day and this and that, but he'll probably just be like, oh, I'm going to play ball with my boys over at Young's Park. But then in reality, you go to Young's Park, he's not there, and you're like wondering where he is. But anyway, he'll just, It was hard, because then, I knew exactly where he was getting it from. We all knew.
I was going to say, because with your experience, you can't fool you.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian, my biggest thing doing this is don't fucking lie to me. You can't lie to an addict.
Yep.
I mean, you can't. And the experience, unfortunately, that you've had at such a young age, you knew he was lying, man. I mean, did he ever come forward, come clean to you and just say, listen, before anything happened, obviously at the end there, did he ever talk to you about it? I mean, that's something hard to come up and say when the first thing, like with me, is there's no problem. You hide it, you lie, you manipulate. That's the biggest thing until the point you can't do it anymore. So what happened after when he came home that first time?
We never talked about it. And that's actually a really good point because honestly, like it was kind of just something that like, like I said, like you said, blindsided us. And we were just like, there's no way it was him. You know what I mean? And so, we tried to get him help. He ended up going to New Jersey rehab facility. And then what happened was they kicked him out because insurance wouldn't cover anymore. They wanted a lot of money for him to stay. And he was on the phone pleading, I need to stay. I need to stay. I need to stay. I can't leave. I can't leave. He was begging. It was sad. And, like we ended up going on a Lake George trip. And then I think that was in like July. And then August came around and, it just hit rock bottom. So it was crazy because, we were sitting like beautiful Lake George, we just cooked up on the grill, everyone's having a great time. And then a month later, it's just, here we are on the front porch at 2 a.m. crying. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, the details from Coach that night is there's so much that went wrong. And as a former police officer, there's protocol. There's shit you got to do. I'm not going to jump on for stuff I don't have all the details on, but there's protocol. There's things. Yeah. And especially, Coach said that there were comments made, I'm worried about hurting myself.
Yep.
Red flag, man.
Yeah.
You go to a crisis center. You don't, okay, we'll give you a ride somewhere. And is that how it went? That they basically, they make it leave the, where was he at?
He was in the New Milford Police Department.
Okay, they picked him up. I can't remember how that whole episode went.
He ended up getting arrested. I don't know if he ended up getting arrested or not, but he ended up at the police station. He failed a suicide screening. He kept saying if they let him out, he was going to go jump off a bridge. He was going to go hurt himself, this, that, and the third. They ended up dropping him off at my dad's house, right by Canterbury condominiums, kind of, in the red units on Wellsville. My dad, obviously, I just told you he was a drug dealer, and he ended up giving Brian the drugs, the heroin, that was laced with fentanyl. They then proceeded to rob Brian of his dead body, moved his body from the floor to the bed, and that's how Brian died. And then they waited 9 hours to call the cops, or 8 hours. So there was a lot that happened within, and when we got the call, we were in Massachusetts at Six Flags. It was, I think, 9 o'clock in the morning. We turned around, we looked, and what's crazy is we were pulling out of the driveway, we looked up in the sky and there was a heart, a straight up heart. Like it was the most definitive heart that you've ever seen. It was the craziest thing.
Was this after the phone call?
Yeah. We got the phone call, we were pulling out of Six Flags. My uncle looked up and there was just a big giant heart.
Now when they called, did they say that he passed at that time or did they just say you need to come?
You need to come to New Milford. We believe this is your son. And then like they try to, my uncle tried to keep it from the kids. And then this way it was just between him and my aunt. And I knew something felt wrong. So when we stopped for gas, me and him walked inside the gas station and I asked him what's going on. Because I can tell there's something not right. And then he ended up telling me.
He told you in the gas station?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how you guys... that ride. I mean, that whole situation, like I said, there's so much that's gone on since then. And now, as we look at that hoodie,
yes, sir.
Like I said, trying to take a negative and turn it around. Yep. Brian, from what you said and what everyone says, lit up the room. And with this Brian Cody Brothers and Sisters Foundation, that's what we're going to do is light up the room. And on the back of that hoodie, it says Hope Dealer.
Yes, it does.
Now, you're a huge part of that. Yep. You know what? I'm new to the family. So, please talk about that and how this all even came together and what the Hope Dealers and then the youth group and all that.
Yeah. So, this Hope Dealer thing kind of started the second year of our of our festival, we have a big group of volunteers that come help us every year in New Milford on the green to host a festival, recovery, and run. This year it'll be August 29th. It's an all-day event. It's completely free. We will have bounce houses, face painting, musicians, vendors. Everything's free. And then it really is just, for a lot of people, they don't believe there's a safe space for them. A lot of stigma is still out there, and that's what's hiding a lot of people from coming forward to try to get clean and try to get help. And it just takes one person to turn it around and to really show what is going on with the world. Why are we burying our kids before they're burying us? We should not be burying our kids before us. Our kids should bury us, and that's how it should be. 20 years old, that's young. That's young. There's people dying that are 16.
I was just gonna say that.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's crazy, and there's a lot of people now that have completely understand that, this is not just a junkie who is just a high guy who's just like a no good. No, it's somebody that probably got into an accident, got hooked on the painkillers, and needed something better because those stopped working, and now they're hooked for life. So that's 70% of how it starts, and then the other 30 to 40% of that are peer pressure. You see it everywhere you go. You go to a club, you'll probably see, cocaine and all that other stuff there, but you don't know if it's laced. There, I think it was just a smoke shop somewhere near Newtown just got busted because they had fentanyl laced marijuana that they were selling. Knowingly. So, yeah. So it's, with all of us, helping each other and, sticking up to the fight, we will end up getting where we want to be. But, there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more fight that has to be done.
Oh, without a doubt.
And then we also have the scholarship that we do. That we got at New Milford, Abbott Tech, and I believe a couple other high schools. Those mean a lot to us. It's I think it should be a very honored thing to get. It's for anyone who's faced the substance use disorder. If they know anybody in their family that's been through this, or if it's their mom, their dad, their whatever it is, they can write an essay. We look at the essay, we submit it over, and we kind of pick and choose if there's only one student, obviously, whatever. But we try to make sure everyone gets a fair chance, because they can't tell their stories, because like I just said, the stigma around it, they can't just come out and completely say it, because then another kid's gonna look at them, oh, your family's full of junkies, oh, you're trash, we don't want to be your friend, we don't want to be this, we don't want to be associated with you. Meanwhile, it's like, well, no, they're trying to get help, they're in a rehab right now, but you're just putting them down, makes you the asshole.
Yes.
So it's a lot of kids already have gone through it. They've got selected. It's a very cool thing to be a part of, for sure, to hand a kid that envelope to be like, just so you know, you're not alone in this fight.
Gotta be intense.
So it's a great thing, though. It's a great thing.
The biggest thing, everything you said, man, and with addiction, I know this firsthand, makes you feel like you're alone.
Yeah.
Just that part makes you feel you're alone. And then you nailed it, the stigma. You bring up addict. People just immediately, like you're some lowlife.
Yep.
You know what? And I always talk about this, man. That CEO at the board meeting, that just this $1 billion company, that just went into the bathroom to shoot up and then get into his limo, had a few drinks, did a line. Mm-hmm. He's an addict. Just like the guy who's in the alley. Yep. Just like the person in the trap house. Yep. No difference. Addict.
Absolutely.
And
they just hide it.
They hide it.
And they got the money to hide it.
And they wear a nice suit or a nice clothes, but an addict is an addict, and it doesn't matter. But the biggest thing is, I always push is addiction's only a word. It's not a death sentence. We prove that every day. And glad you brought that up about the end of August is the event, and I'm very proud to be part of that this year. I cannot wait to be part of that with you and your family. I mean, this has affected you on so many different levels. Obviously, personally, you can't get much more personal. Yeah. But just showing that, talking to you and Coach is, never giving up. And there's always a way, and that stigma, man, that it can happen. Don't look at someone and just say yes, no, and you can't pick it up because addiction doesn't discriminate.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, you in your life, you've seen it all. Yep. I mean, as far as the person, the area, it doesn't matter where you live. The drugs get in there. Yep. I mean, I'm sure the people, you've seen that firsthand as well.
Yeah. It's crazy, the amount of stuff I've seen. I mean, it's just, sometimes it's just the way of the world. And it's like, you're brought in this world. There's nothing you can do about it, but it's about how you change the world you came in. You can grow up to be a drunk, or you can grow up to be a rich guy. Whatever one you want to choose. You can be a drunk and have nothing going for you, or you can be someone who's going to be successful in 20 years. You can choose. And, I'm still young.
Man, you know what? Yes and no. I mean, you are young in years, but, man, you are wise in age, brother. I mean, just hearing your story and the way that you present it. And not only that, man, but the way that you express, and it was I felt really, bad, because it was just like, house got shot up, and
it's kind of crazy because you can say it's like I kind of normalized it, and it's kind of like I don't like thinking about it like that, because it's like I don't want to normalize that. I hope it never happens again, and I hope it doesn't happen to another 8-year-old where they actually get hit with a bullet and die. But for me, it was like I lived it. I've been there. I've done it. I've seen so many things. So it's like it doesn't have that effect on me now, where it's like, oh damn, someone just got shot. Whoa, what's going on? I can hear a gunshot and be like, damn, someone just got shot, and then have that dark humor, and it's like, so a lot of people are like, they see me, white boy that lives in a beautiful house and this and that and the third, but they don't see the other 10 years ago where I was. So it's like, yo, listen, just because you see the skin, the white skin, you don't know where I've come from, and you don't know how humbled I am to have it stored away. That's the key. You can be somewhere and so dark, but you know what? If you can try to just put it away in a chest and then just let's start clean. I don't even want to know that guy from 10 years ago. But what sucks is that I can remember so vividly about everything.
You know what, Bo, when you were talking about that, when you go, you can ask me some and I'll describe it. I'm the same way. I am the same way, man. Unfortunately, I've got PTSD from shot, stabbed, things happen to me, things that I've seen, people getting shot, stabbed, putting people in body bags. And I could tell you this, I remember the smell, the sound, the weather. I mean, everything about that moment, I could, just like you just said, when you were saying that, I was like, I know what you mean. And for people that have never experienced it, and see, that's why I love having you on, man, and all of our guests on, because me and you can relate to what it does to ourselves and families. Thank God you're not dealing with the addiction yourself, as far as being, but unfortunately with Brian and myself. But the people who have never experienced addiction, who just say, well, just stop. You know what? Or they'll say, it's your choice, because, if you say, someone's dying of cancer. Oh, that's terrible. What can I do to help them? Yep. Well, okay. Well, they need this. Oh, okay. Well, this person, man, they're dying. They're pretty bad shape. They might not make it. Well, what do they have? Well, they're addicts. Oh, well, that's their choice.
That's what it's
I mean,
supposed to.
it's
Yeah.
literally like, well, wait a minute, two people, both on death's bed. This one, what can I do to help? This one, well, okay. And that's how they normalize it. It's like, and it's insane. But so for the Hope Dealers, and for the Brian Cody Brothers and Sisters Foundation, you nailed it, man. As long as we don't give up, and as long as our stories are being told, that's what it's all about.
That's that's the start.
What do you? I mean, anything else that you at all have to say or want to say to that person, to that 8-year-old who's in this house right now, that's or to that 12-year-old who's that experienced all that, who may hopefully see this and think that I can't. This is it for me.
So it's kind of funny, like so I always tell myself I'm a living testimony to anything and everything, with so it's like I just said, it's like you can either grow up to be that drunk guy, or you can grow up to be that really rich guy that everybody's going to want to be friends with, and that everyone's going to come and get advice from you. Growing up with my dad, do I want to grow up and be a drug dealer and then get my house shot up and put my kids in harm's way? No, I'm going to change my life and to make sure that what happened to me as a young kid isn't going to happen to my young kids, because I'll be damned if that happens. So it's like, it doesn't matter where you start in life. It matters where you want to be. If you want to live in that type of area and do those type of things, go ahead, but just know the consequences of it. Mm-hmm. Now, do you want to live in a beautiful house and have a beautiful car and a beautiful family? Hell yeah. And that's what I'm going to do. So, it's just take every day, realize what people are talking about. Be like, man, I don't want to go with Joe and Schmo and go rob a corner store for $50. I'm going to go work 50 hours a week this week, make $1,000, and start building myself to be a better me. And that's it. That's all you can do. That's it.
Man, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. You know what? If you can dream it, you can do it.
That's it.
If you want to dream about what it feels like to go to jail, stay on the track you're on, man. Yep. You'll find out. Or, you're going to be in a body bag. You want to be a better person, do what Bo's doing. Do what all of the Hope Dealers are doing. Make a change first and foremost in yourself, and then all the people around you. And you're doing that, man. You're doing it with the Brian Cody Brothers and Sisters Foundation. You're doing it with the Youth Heroes Group. You're doing it with the Hope Dealers. I mean, you guys are my heroes, man. And I got my hoodie. I'll be wearing. I got that.
Good.
And like I said, I've got the honor, privilege, and pleasure of calling the Morseys and you my family, man, because Coach said we want you to be part of the Brian Cody Brothers.
Yes.
I said, I'm in.
Yes.
I said, that's it. And so, Bo, I really appreciate it,
Thank you so much. And, I appreciate it.
Coach knows and everyone knows I go live all the time, and I like, well, you're stuck with me because I'm part of your family too. I'm number 21. So put me on your list.
I will.
And
I'll save that as your contact name. Number 21.
21, Manny. Yeah. Call 21.
Yeah.
But like I said, we'll keep in touch, obviously, with Coach and everything else in the events.
Yes, sir.
But I've got my studio in Detroit.
Oh,
if
okay.
at any time, I use StreamYard for going live.
That's how you know Skylar, right?
Me and Skylar, we do our shows on Wednesdays. Yep. Yeah, me and Skylar. I just saw him in Portland.
Yep.
So we're tight. We're doing him and Kayla and Pound Cake. And Susie the Wonder Dog.
Yes, sir.
So you want to pop? You know what? Maybe on Music and Mayhem, I'll send you a link and you can pop on the show with us.
I should. Oh, that'd be lit.
You have an open invitation to come on anytime you want.
Thank you.
And I'm going to get your number, and we'll make it happen.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Tell them, man, Brian Cody Brothers and Sisters Foundation, Bo, Hope Dealers, Youth Hero Group, man, it doesn't get any better than that. And like he said, man, let's ditch the stigma. We're here for one reason. That's to help each other, love each other, and make a difference in this world. So until next time, man, love you guys. Please go to YouTube, to My Fight Our War. Check us out, TikTok, the whole bit, man. You know what to do. Till then, man, keep fighting the good fight.